Dear students, now explain the chapter The Black Aeroplane in English. The lesson Black Aeroplane by Frederick Forsyth reflects on how one's judgment gets distorted due to fantasizing and how it creates problem. In this chapter, the narrator is a pilot who is so eager to meet his family and have a good breakfast that he takes the wrong decision of facing the storm instead of doing the right thing. Miraculously, he somehow manages to escape with the help of a mysterious aeroplane. So, the story Black Aeroplane is about a pilot who feels happy and contented to fly over a city that is sleeping at the night time. He is flying from Paris to London. वो पेरिस से लंदन फ्लाई करना चाहता है. While taking his flight, he dreams about the long holiday with family. He also fantasizes about the scrumptious breakfast he would have upon landing. As soon as he crosses Paris, he gets a look of the dark clouds that were a sign of upcoming storm. The right decision would have been to turn back to Paris for the sake of safety, but he, being overshadowed by his dreams and not wanting to delay them, risked the life of his passenger and head straight into the storm. Everything gets dark. He is unable to see anything through the sky. All his directions to minds stopped functioning and he lost control of the plane. When all hopes was lost, जब सब hope खो गई थी, he saw another plane whose pilot was more than willing to rescue them. The author was panicking as there was very less amount of fuel left. The enemy's pilot, जिसको वो जानता नहीं है, guided them out of the storm and disappeared as soon as they saw light. Upon landing, when he asked the lady in the control room about the other pilot, he is left in shock when she says that his plane was the only plane in the sky. So students, now I explain the lesson. Please see. The moon was coming up in the east behind me and stars were shining in the clear sky above me. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. I was happy. The writer was happy to be alone high above the sleeping countryside. I was flying my old Dakota aeroplane over France back to England. I was dreaming of my holiday and looking forward to being with my family. I looked at my watch. 1:30 in the morning, यानी सुबह का 1:30 बजा हुआ था. तो now students, in the very first paragraph था, it was night time. आप देख रहे हैं कि यहाँ night time है. When the sky was clear and the stars could be seen twinkling, the pilot felt peace in being above a country that had fallen asleep while he was flying over the France to England. It was 1:30 in the morning and he was fantasizing about holidays with his family. यानी वो सपने देख रहा है, ड्रीम देख रहा है कि अपने हॉलीडेज को वो किसके साथ शेयर करेगा, किसके साथ स्पेंड करेगा, अपनी फैमिली के साथ. I should call Paris control soon, I thought, as I looked down past the nose of the aeroplane. I saw the light of a big city in front of me. I switched on the radio and said, Paris control, Dakota, DS088 here. Can you hear me? क्या आप मुझे सुन रहे हैं? I'm on my way to England. Over. The voice from the radio answered me immediately. DS088, I can hear you. You ought to turn 12 degrees west now. DS088, over. When the aeroplane was in France, जब aeroplane France में था, the pilot thought of informing the Paris control पर्सनल रूम में कंट्रोल रूम में जो होता है सोचा कि उनको इन्फॉर्म कर देते अबाउट इट्स प्रेजेंस एंड फॉर इंस्ट्रक्शंस. एट दैट टाइम Lights from the Paris city were blaring at him. He informed the control agency, to which they replied with further instructions on directions. The control room at Paris instructed him to turn 12 degree towards the west. यानी पेरिस कंट्रोल रूम उसको क्या बता रहा है, क्या इंस्ट्रक्ट दे रहा है कि वो वेस्ट से 12 डिग्री की तरफ मुड़ जाए. I checked the map and the compass, switched over to my second and last fuel tank, and turned the Dakota 12 degrees west towards England. I will be in time for breakfast, I thought. A good big English breakfast. Everything was going well. It was an easy flight. Students, compass. The word is compass here. That's meaning instrument of telling direction. कि compass वो instrument होता है जो कि direction के बारे में उसे बताता है. तो after receiving the instructions, जब उसने instructions receive कर लिया कि 12 डिग्री उधर से मुड़ जाओ वेस्ट से, तो फिर वो क्या देखता है? After receiving the instructions, the pilot reared up, followed them while putting the last fuel tank into operation. All this time, he was dreaming about his time with his family, and then he started thinking about having a satisfactory breakfast at the destination's point. He was calm as everything was going as planned. बहुत शांत था, उसको लग रहा था सब कुछ प्लान के accordingly तो चल ही रहा है. Paris was about 150 kilometers behind me. When I saw the clouds, storm clouds. They were huge, big. They looked like black mountains. कैसे दिख रहे हैं? Black mountain की तरह. Standing in front of me across the sky. I knew I could not fly. अब वो जान गया था कि वो नहीं उड़ा सकता है. And over them. And I did not have enough fuel to mile around them to the north or south. I ought to go back to Paris. मुझे पेरिस वापस चलाना चाहिए, I thought. But I wanted to get home. लेकिन वो घर जाना चाहता था. I wanted that breakfast. I will take the risk, I thought, and flew that old Dakota straight into the storm. Now the plane had crossed Paris when he started seeing clouds in the sky. The presence of clouds made it unsafe to travel by air because there were chances of a storm. They were so huge and dark that the pilot compared them with the black mountains. He knew he could not pass them, as it was impossible to go above them or escape them with the amount of fuel that was left in the last tank. The right decision would have been to fly back to Paris safely. यानी उसका सही डिसीजन क्या हो सकता है, क्या होना चाहिए था कि उसको पेरिस वापस चले जाना चाहिए था. But the pilot's decision making was clouded by his wish to meet his family. But वो जल्दी से जल्दी अपनी फैमिली से मिलना चाहता था, अच्छा ब्रेकफास्ट करना चाहता था. So he desperately wanted to be with his family and have the English breakfast he had been dreaming of all day. That he took the risk of not going back. तो उसने क्या किया? वापस जाने का रिस्क नहीं लिया. Thus he headed the plane right into a storm. और उसने क्या किया? उसी स्टॉर्म में उस प्लेन को आगे चला दिया. Inside the clouds, everything was suddenly black. It was impossible to see anything outside the aeroplane. The old aeroplane jumped and twisted in the air. I looked at the compass. I couldn't believe my eyes. The compass was turning round and round and round. It was dead. It would not work. The other instruments were suddenly dead too. I tried the radio. क्या देखता है वो कि धीरे धीरे इट वॉज सो डार्क बिकॉज ऑफ द स्टॉर्म के कारण बहुत ज़्यादा डार्क हो गया है सब जगह. दैट नथिंग वॉज विजिबल. कुछ भी नहीं दिख रहा है प्लेन के बाहर. ही स्टार्टेड लूजिंग कंट्रोल ऑफ द एरोप्लेन. धीरे धीरे वो कंट्रोल खो देता है अपना एरोप्लेन के ऊपर. द कंपास एंड द अदर इंस्ट्रूमेंट हैड ऑल्सो स्टॉप्ड वर्किंग बिकॉज ऑफ द बैड वेदर. ही बिकेम हेल्पलेस. और वो हेल्पलेस हो जाता है. So now at this time he decided, Paris control, can you hear me? Paris control room, Paris control, क्या तुम मुझे सुन सकते हो? There was no answer, but there was no answer. The radio was dead too. I have no radio, no compass, and I could not see where I was. I was lost in the storm. Then in the black cloud quite near me, I saw another aeroplane. It had no lights, no its wings, but I could see it flying next to me through the storm. I could see the pilot's face turn towards me. I was very glad to see another person. He lifted one hand and waved. Follow me. He was saying, follow me. He knows that I am lost. I thought he is trying to help me. He tried calling the Paris. So students, he tried calling the Paris Control Agency. जब बहुत ही ज़्यादा परेशान हो गया, उसको कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है, तो he tried calling the Paris Control Agency who had helped him earlier but couldn't connect because of the weather. लेकिन खराब वेदर के कारण वो कनेक्ट नहीं हो रहा था. In the midst of nowhere, when everything failed, he saw a ray of hope. When he saw another aeroplane, he felt relieved. उसको थोड़ा relieved महसूस हुआ. When he saw another pilot's face and willingness to help him escape the storm, he thought to himself that the other pilot is very kind, as he knew they were lost and was trying to help him. He turned his aeroplane slowly to the north in front of my Dakota so that it would be easier for me to follow him. I was very happy to go behind the strange aeroplane like an obedient child. एक obedient child की तरह मैंने उस दूसरे एरोप्लेन को फॉलो करना सीख लिया. उसको ही फॉलो किया. After half an hour, the strange black aeroplane was still there in front of me in the clouds now. There was only enough fuel in old Dakota's last tank to fly for 5 or 10 minutes more. I was starting to feel frightened again. अब वो वापस डरने लगता है. But then he started to go down and I followed through the storm. Suddenly I came out of the clouds and saw 2 long straight lines of lines in front of me. It was a runway, an airport. I was safe. बहुत हैप्पी हुआ कि वो सेफ है. I turned to look for my friend in the black aeroplane, but the sky was empty. लेकिन स्काई जो था वो खाली था. There was nothing there. The black aeroplane was gone. Black aeroplane वहाँ से जा चुका था. I could not see it anywhere. और उसको कहीं नहीं देख पाता है. So students, there is a new word is runway here. Runway means a strip of hard ground along which aircraft take off and land. Runway. Frightened यानी terrified, and followed यानी chased, and obedient one who obeys, and glad means happy. The other pilot took his plane ahead of the lost aeroplane to make it easier for them to follow, while the author followed him like an obedient child. He was also panicking because there was a very less amount of fuel left. It was only then that he started coming out of the storm and could see the runway to land his plane safely. When he turned to thank the other pilot, जब वो पीछे मुड़ता है तो दूसरे पायलट को थैंक यू कहने के लिए he realized, क्या फील करता है, that the plane that helped him, कि जिस प्लेन ने उसको हेल्प किया था had disappeared as soon as he came out of the storm. कि वो वहाँ से डिसअपियर हो गया था और वो जो था वो स्टॉर्म से बाहर आ चुका था. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I landed and was not sorry to walk away from the old Dakota near the control tower. I went and asked a woman, ask a woman in the control center where I was and who the other pilot was. I wanted to say thank you. She looked at me very strangely and then laughed. पहले उसको देख के बहुत स्ट्रेंजली उसने बिहेव किया और फिर धीरे से वो हंसी. Another aeroplane, कौन सा दूसरा एरोप्लेन? Up there in this storm, इस स्टॉर्म में no other airplane were flying tonight. आज दूसरा कोई भी एरोप्लेन नहीं उड़ा तुम्हारे डकोटा एरोप्लेन के सिवा. Yours was the only one I could see on the radar. मैं रडार पर तुम्हारे प्लेन के अलावा कोई भी एरोप्लेन नहीं देख सकी थी. So who helped me to arrive there safely without a compass or a radio and without any more fuel in my tanks? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane? Who was the pilot on the strange black aeroplane flying in the storm without lights? Without lights. So students, radar means होता है कि radar means होता है a system for detecting the presence, direction, distance and speed of aircraft, ship and other objects by sending out pulses of radio waves which are reflected off the object back to the source. Strangely means in a strange manner. So in the last paragraph, the author did not know where he had landed but was not afraid of leaving his plane unattended. He headed straight into the control room. तुरंत control room की तरफ जाता है to ask about the other pilot. To his utmost surprise, the lady told him that there was no other plane in the sky except his because of the bad weather. He is left astonished. बहुत उसको आश्चर्य होता है with a lot of questions unanswered in his mind. So story is over. Here right now you watch this video and understand full chapter and write question answer in your notebook. Thank you.